Hello, my name is Noah, and the reason my tripod is shaking is because my cat's rolling around underneath it. Hello everyone, my name is Noah, and welcome to this Stet Stitches podcast. You may have seen a few of the other videos that I make. I make videos about specific projects and share them, but it takes me so long to A, make the project and then edit the video and upload it, that I thought maybe trying to make a podcast to go in between might be fun. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this, but I've been watching a lot of knitting and sewing YouTube videos lately, and I just, wanted to do it. I'm kind of getting that, this looks like fun. I want to try it. We are currently in the recording studio for my business. I have a small business where I create art and writing that supports and celebrates LGBTQ plus people. And this area is for filming reels, creating social media, doing staging for product photography, that sort of thing. But I figured might as well use it for this as well. And I do have some lights on because it is kind of later in the day. The sun's starting to go down. So we'll see how the lighting looks. But anyways, let's get started. My name is Noah. Like I said, my pronouns are they, them. This is an inclusive and anti-bigotry space. So if you have issues with any of that, you may not want to watch this. But other than that, everyone's welcome. And let's get started. I think the first thing we're going to do is talk about works in progress. We could talk about finished products, but I think I'll do that at the end because most of them are already out of my life, so I will just be showing you photos. But I do have a huge tub of stuff here because I tried to do this the other day and the camera died about halfway through. So to keep everything safe from, both of my cats, but particularly Ravioli, I put everything in a plastic tub and just left it in this room. So, yeah, the first thing we're going to get started with is... Sorry, I wish my phone would stop doing that. The screen doesn't really stay turned off when I have the recording app on. But anyways, the first thing we're starting with is this Brooklinen bag, because I am a millennial that's willing to advertise for anybody. That's not true. I just like a good tote bag, and this one is actually really high quality. But in it, we have a sort of freestyle cross stitch that I've been working on. This was something one of my friends said in a Discord that we were in together, and we were talking about all the different types of books out there that are really niche, really odd, sort of adult fiction, we'll call it. I don't know what the censorship rules on YouTube are, but adult in quotes, not just general adult fiction. There's one where a woman falls in love with a sentient pillow that's in love with her. There's one where a woman falls in love with a door. I think that was the one we were talking about. A door that's sentient. And Ravioli has just returned, so he will probably knock the tripod. That box is not for you, my boy. I know. Oh my goodness, he's making biscuits. As long as he doesn't start chewing on things, that's fine. Anyways, there's one where a woman falls in love with sourdough starter, I think is what it is, or maybe it's a loaf of bread, I forget. But, so we were talking about those kind of things, and my friend said, I welcome the knowledge of strange and unsettling erotica. And that's what this is, and as you can see, it's not centered. I didn't do that right. I've never designed a cross-stitch pattern before, but this was just kind of a first try. And I worked on this during Finish It February quite a bit. I was probably only on the word knowledge. Oh my goodness, he's so cute. Hey. No, we're not chewing on that. No. Here, let me show you, maybe. I have to bring my phone with me. I'm tethered. Please ignore how much cat hair is on this floor. Look at him. He's having a good time. Say hi to everybody. Say, I'm being bad. Well, you're not being bad. You don't know better, but yeah, him baby. But yeah, when my friend said that, I said I need to make this a sampler to hang above my bed just because it's ridiculous. And I want to do some little design elements around it. Once I get that figured out, I'll probably make it into an actual little pattern. So if anybody wants to try it, they can. But yeah, right now it's just some random Aida fabric. I think it's 14 would be my guess that I just had lying around. I don't have a lot of I don't have a significant cross-stitch stash just because I don't do a lot of cross-stitching. I do have quite a bit of embroidery floss just because I've collected it over the years, both intentionally and unintentionally. But yeah, this is what it looks like so far. I'm almost done with it too. I just kind of Lost steam towards the end of the month because I was so tired of working on it. But I think that's pretty common for finish of February. Are you going to let me take anything out? Anything out of the box? I'm going to take this, okay? Yeah. All right, the next thing that I'm working on is in this old project bag. It's not that old, but it's like maybe like 9 years old, so it's kind of old. I got it in a swap. It's got pirates on it. Not really anything I'm interested in. It was just probably whatever fabric the person who made it had. But it's a nice bag. It's a good size for small projects. And I have a Northeasterly blanket that I'm working on. This is going to be a very long-term project because it's a blanket knit out of fingering weight yarn. And these are all scraps. I knit an entire... the original sock yarn blanket, the one made by Shelly Kang, I knit an entire one of those. I'll insert a picture or something. I knit one of those throughout high school and college. And I don't know, I loved the experience even though it took me forever. So, yeah. I don't know what yarn this is that I'm currently working with. It was something that I received in a swap, I think. It was probably one of those get your yarn wishes granted type things that used to happen on Instagram. I think they still happen. I don't know. But I feel like that's where I got it from. I have no idea what it is. I remember the one year I asked for self-striping yarn on there because I didn't have any and I was a broke college student. So yeah, that's what's going on here. We've got one whole row and most of one row. And yeah, I've kind of been alternating. It's really just any fingering weight yarn can go into this, but I've been trying to alternate a little bit so that nothing that's too similar sits right next to each other or on top of each other. Can I have something else? Please? Yeah. I'll take this. Okay. Got another one here. This is almost done. This one's probably my work in progress that's the closest to being done, but it's the one I work on the least. These are what I'm calling my camp socks. I started them when I was camping with some friends over the summer in July. This is actually the second sock. I'll show you the first one. But it is knit with Knit Picks Felici. I believe this is the Rustic Cabin colorway, and then some Patons Kroy plain gray yarn. I have no idea what the colorway is, but I bought it specifically to make heels, toes, and cuffs of socks. And yeah, I really, really like how it's turning out. This colorway is really pretty. It's very much my vibes currently. Obviously, it totally matches so well with my shirt and my pants. I don't know how well you can see my pants, but my pants are basically this color here. But anyways, I'm on the toe decreases for this sock. It's a standard cuff down. I did 1x1 twisted ribbing for the cuff, which is my preferred. I cast on 64 stitches, and I think these are size US 1 needles. Yes, size US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needles. They're Chiagu, so they have the size engraved on them. I think it's engraved on, not printed on. These are my favorite needles for that reason. That, and I really like the way they work. I feel like they work really well for me. So if I had infinite money, I would probably kit myself out entirely in Chiagu needles, but that's not really necessary. And I did a heel flap and gusset and slip stitch, alternating, I guess, or staggered or whatever. And then we have the foot, and the gray starts a little bit sooner on this foot because I couldn't find the second ball when I went to cast on this sock, the second ball of the Rustic Cabin. And I knew that I had taken it to camp with me, and I was pretty sure I brought it home, but no matter where I looked, I couldn't find it. And I was getting really frustrated and fed up because I wanted to cast on the second sock. And it had been months. Like, I started this in July, and I think I finished the first sock in like January or February of this year. Because I only seem to work on it when I'm around my friends. That's kind of the pattern that's evolved. It's what I take with me to social events. So they've kind of become my camp socks, my friend's socks. But couldn't find the ball of yarn. So I started using what was left of the Knit Picks Felici from the first sock, and I weighed it to see if it was 25 ounces, or 25 grams, not 25 ounces. And it was like maybe 20 grams, like it was just under, and I was like, okay, whatever. I will, if I have to, I will start with the gray sooner, and that'll just be what it is, and it'll be fine. I don't mind. Especially this part of your sock is pretty much in your shoe all the time. That, and I don't mind. I'm a big fan of like visible mending and scrappy make do and mend type stuff. I don't know why these socks look like they're different lengths. They're not. Because I measured this one off of that one. There we go. Yeah. So I did eventually find the second ball of yarn. I don't remember how far I was down the second sock when I found it, but it was in my sock drawer with my knitted socks. So I think what happened was I was unpacking from camp, and this one was probably trying to get into the suitcase to see what everything was and found the ball of yarn, and he will just destroy yarn if he gets a chance. He loves it. He will chew it. He will shred it. Right now he's like snoozing on it very calmly, but you have to watch him like a hawk. So I had drawers open. I was putting dirty things in the, in the closet, in the hampers, putting clean things away. So I probably just took the ball of yarn, shoved it in the dresser drawer and shut it. And since it was July, wasn't wearing wool socks, and it just kind of blended in and lived in there for several months until it got cold, and I finally found it in the back. It just kind of migrated to the back of the drawer, how that sort of stuff goes. So by that time, I'd already kind of decided that the gray I was just going to use the gray to finish it. So rather than break into that second ball for 3 grams, 5 grams, whatever of yarn, I just wanted to, do it this way and have a whole, unbroken into ball to go, either to trade or to give to friends or use for something else. And like I said, I'm okay with that. Not a big deal, but yeah. So like I said, I'm on the toe decreases. I could probably finish this with 20 minutes of dedicated knitting time. But like I said, it's become my friends knitting, so I can only work on it when I'm hanging out with my friends. Which is a silly rule, but it's kind of fun now because it has all those memories in it of places I've taken it, people I've seen while I was working on it, that sort of thing. But yeah. And this is a bag I made quite a while ago. I really like it. It's missing its drawstring, but I don't really care. So there's that. All right, let's see what else he'll let me take. All right, I think the next thing I'm going to take is my only spinning whip. And I meant to grab the label for this, since I started this yesterday and realized I didn't have a label, but I never did. So this is a braid of fiber of some kind of wool. I think it's BFL and Corriedale. I'm not sure. But I will insert it and leave information to who created it and what it's called down below. It is just gorgeous. Look at this. That's beautiful. And I have barely started working on it. We've got this little bit on this spindle. I think it's an Aaron Makes Stuff spindle. I don't know if he still makes spindles, if he still makes this kind of spindle. I've had this thing for 7-8 years. But yeah, I honestly completely forgot that I was working on this until I was watching a video recently and somebody mentioned that they were spinning some yarn, and I was like, oh yeah, I have that. And it's just been living in one of my stash drawers. It really needs its own bag. It doesn't have one. It's very vulnerable to the ravioli, although he doesn't look very dangerous right now. He's so sweet. He's going to be really upset when I take this next thing out. I know, my boy. I'm sorry. Yeah. He's just the cutest little man. Yeah, can I have this, please? Yeah, I'd like this. Thank you. Yeah, I want to show the nice people. Oh, yep. Okay. I don't know where the original is, so we're just going to talk about the photocopied pattern. But this is a baby blanket that I've been working on for my cousin. She is having her first baby at the end of March, and it's the beginning of March right now, so I need to get moving. I kind of was putting it off finish it February to work on some other things. But yeah, this is my second attempt at knitting a vintage pattern. I actually knit for my other cousin. I will link to it. Sort of balaclava, adult helmet, I think it was called, from a vintage pattern earlier last year. I think it was in October. I don't know when I knit it. I know the video went up in October, but this is the Shetland Isles Shawl B852. Hey, what are you doing? No. Oh, give me that. Yeah, I know. And it's called a shawl, but it's very clearly meant to be a baby blanket. And it's just a square shawl, so, you know, baby blanket. And this is what the pattern looks like. It's just, you know, one page. Not even, I mean, it's one page of the booklet. This is a 2-page spread that I photocopied. I don't know when it's from because it's missing the cover. I'll have to look and see if I figured it out. I have a little spreadsheet where I've been keeping track of the vintage pattern booklets and whatnot that I have. But this is most likely a Coates & Clark Red Heart book because that's the type of yarn that they recommended, which not what I'm using. I will tell you what I'm using. I think he's sitting on the label, so we're going to worry about that later. This is Berrocco. Oh, maybe I do need it. I'm sorry, Ravioli. Oh, there he goes. He was actually very calm about that. I thought he was going to be mad that I was moving him. All that for nothing. It's Berrocco Ultra Wool Fine 100% Superwash. So it's a 100% Superwash wool. It is a fingering weight yarn. It's 3.5 ounces and 444 yards, which is also 100 grams and 366 meters. And it's labeled as super fine. I would call it a fingering weight. I don't really know what the difference between those two things is. But yeah, you can see I'm holding it double because it calls for, well, it doesn't give, since it's a vintage pattern, it doesn't really give much information. It just says, it gives the finished measurements, which is shawl measures 45.5 inches square, and then it tells you that you need Coates & Clark Red Heart baby wool 3-ply, and you need 10 ounces of it. So I, for some reason, thought that that was a fingering weight yarn or close to a fingering weight yarn. And I did some research, and that was, I guess, how I decided that. But looking at the gauge based on what I was working on here, it would not have been the right size if I knit it single strand. So I decided that I was going to hold it double, and that's working out exactly pretty much on gauge. And it's a baby blanket. It doesn't need to be perfect. And I was thinking, well, it's still 10 ounces, and I ordered 10 ounces of this. So what does that mean? And I was kind of going over it in my head. And basically, based on how much I knit out of the first skein, this is the second skein, I'm going to need to order more yarn. And I don't want to talk about this too much because I am... Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. I don't want to talk about this blanket too much because I am working on a video for it. I'm filming myself working on it. So this is one of those ones that's going to be its own video. So I'm not going to say too much more about it. I don't know where the line is for that sort of thing, but I am really enjoying knitting it. I really love this color. I think it's Matcha is the color, I think. So there's that. And now that he's out of this box, I can put things back in it. And then my final work in progress is this, and it's kind of huge. This is, and of course he pulled the hook out and is pulling the stitches out. This is, I'm going to just slip that live end over my finger. The Rugged Ripples Afghan. I have no idea who it's by. I've been working on this for literal years. And yeah, it's really big. It's like, what, maybe 2 feet long at this point. I think it's big enough to be queen's. No, it's not big enough to be queen sized. I don't know. Whatever this is. It's very big. It's scrap worsted weight yarn, and I've been using all wool, or in case of one of these yarns, it's alpaca. I've been using all natural fibers, because I started this, if I remember correctly, like, back when I was like 19 years old, so 9 years ago, and I originally knit it, or crocheted it, and it was way too big, like my gauge must have been really off, and I was using just whatever yarn I had, and I just didn't really like mixing wool and acrylic and all, probably cotton, just whatever I had. I didn't like the way it looked with them mixed together, because different yarn fibers, or yarns made out of different fibers, behave differently depending on what they're made out of, so that makes sense. So I decided that I was just going to do it with wool and similar fibers. And I'm only crocheting through the back loop, which bugs me now that I know better, but at the time that was just how I did it. So for consistency's sake, I'm continuing to do that. I haven't worked on this in quite a while, but it's nice to have. It's really too big to have a bag at this point, which is a shame. I need to find some sort of home for it, but I have one more work in progress here, and I actually have another one somewhere else, but I will just show you that one next time. Maybe it'll be a finished object, I don't know. This is my temperature blanket. This is like the third time, perhaps, or the fourth time I've made one of these, and this doesn't have, instead of a project bag, it has a project box. This is just like a, you know, a tub, and everything fits in here. This is all the yarn that I have accounted for. I have some odds and ends from the other years because every time I give up, I unwind the yarn and then reuse it, but it's not accounted for in my stash. So I've been winding things up into 50-gram balls, and once I have that 50-gram ball accounted for, it goes in here, or if it's still in its label. It's all Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes. I think most of it's superwash. It might not all be superwash. I've been doing this for so long now that I think some of them have lost their labels, but I think for the most part they're all superwash. But yeah, so I'll show you what I have. I'm going to actually have to rip some of it out. So I've had to redo February, which is this wedge, twice now, and this one, which is January, once. I realized last night that this part should be up here because this is the 29th of February. It should be 3 days higher than it is, and I thought maybe I skipped a day or added extra days on this one. No, I attached them unevenly, so there are a couple spots where I attached 2 days on one side to 1 day on the other side, and I realized that at like almost 11 o'clock last night, and I was like, I can't fix it. I can't do this right now. So this is gonna hopefully go into timeout for just a little bit, and then I'll come back to it. I want to do it. I really like this pattern. It's called the Crochet Star Temperature Blanket, I think. I will link it and let you know. But I really like the way it looks, and I really like the color palette that I picked, which is pretty much just rainbow. But yeah, that's it for works in progress. For finished objects, we have the 2 children's quilts I made for my mother for when my nibblings come to visit. She wanted quilts for the beds in her spare room. They're smaller beds because they're meant for kids. They're custom sizes. So I made those. I finished those mid-February. I'm sure you're seeing pictures somewhere. I really like them. I didn't use a pattern. I just took the measurements of the beds that she gave me and cut 5-inch squares. I had twice as many of the brown squares compared to the pink and green squares, so I alternated. And yeah, I think they turned out nice. I don't really know what to say. They were very basic. It took me just 2 days shy of a year to finish them because they were so basic. I found them really boring, and despite my best efforts, I got busy with other things. And the other thing I finished was actually a video of these mitts that I made for my girlfriend, Julia. I really like how they turned out. I think she likes them a lot too. I finished them in December of last year. I finished them New Year's Eve, I think. So the mitts themselves aren't technically a finish it February type thing, but that's fine. And yeah, what else? What else did I finish? Did I finish anything else? I don't think so. Oh, I finished, or at least got caught up on my Moomin house. It's a kit that I'm building from a company called De Agostini. I don't know. I'm sure I'll insert a picture to show my progress. It doesn't look that exciting because it's not finished, but I had a backlog. Every month they send you some of the kit and you can work on it, and I had a backlog of a couple months. So I spent a lot of time in February working on that. So that was fun. And then we have things that I haven't started yet that I'm planning on working on. We have some baby bibs. This is fabric. It's flannel. I got 2 different types. This is for the baby that the blanket's being made for my cousin. It's sort of upside down. Hold on. It's woodland themed. It's got deer and mice and turtles and foxes and mushrooms, and I think it's really, really cute. And I think my cousin will like it. Her theme is kind of like forest animals and muted earth tones and stuff, which is why I picked the color for the blanket that I picked. And then we have this. This is for my friend. My friend's daughter is having a baby in April. Yes, April. So I am going to be making this lion fabric into bibs for her. And I can't get over the faces. The faces are so cute. They're kind of what drew me to picking this fabric. That and just the the soft, like, texturedness of the design. I mean, of course, the fabric itself is very soft too. But I picked fabrics that had yellow in it because I have this terry cloth left over from the last time I made baby bibs, which was when I was in high school, so it was at least 10 years ago. But this, I like to put a cotton terry cloth on one side and a soft, like, flannel with, like, a lot less of a pile, I guess, on the other side. So you have one side that's maybe a little more absorbent and one side that has less, like, stringiness for things to get caught on. And yeah, those are going to be fun. I need to find a pattern. I don't still have the pattern I used when I was in high school. I don't even remember what they looked like. I just know that I used this cotton and then something on the other side, but that's a project I'm going to do. It might be tonight. It'll be sometime this week. I don't know exactly when, but the baby shower for one of them is next week, so I need to get moving. The next thing I have is something that is technically already finished, but needs to be added to. These are socks I made for my mom. They are kind of, not old, but like they've been around a couple years. They're almost felted, honestly. They're quasi-felted just from wear, use, and wash. But she wants them to be longer. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I've got so much yarn fuzz in my nose at this point. And the yarn I used was Schoppel-Ambiente. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. It is this self-striping. It says the colorway is 2184 Magic. I feel like it was called like Angry Gnome or something. I don't know. But it's 100% wool, and it's a sport weight, I think, so a little bit thicker than a fingering, and I can't read German. I should have asked my girlfriend. It's 50 grams, 155 meters. So there's that. This is the exact same yarn I used. Obviously, it's a different lot because I bought this like last year, and she has had these socks for years. But I think they were the after Bertha socks, or at least I took that pattern and made it not a tube sock from Socks, which is a socks book, shockingly. We'll link to that as well. But I need to, part of me says I need to unpick the cast on and then knit upwards. I think I will, honestly, I don't know, because it's so felted and fuzzy. I may just do my best to pick up some stitches and knit upwards, because the cast on is, I mean, it is tighter than the rest of the knitting because that's the nature of cast ons and cast offs, but I think it'll be fine. She just wants them to be like maybe 2 inches longer on either side, so that's what this yarn's for, and I've been meaning to do this for ages. And then finally, in terms of future projects, I have this skein of yarn here that I'm going to knit into some fingerless mitts for a friend of mine. It is the 100 grams DK weight, 100% Blueface Leicester wool. There's 226 meters. This is from Gamercrafting Yarns, who I happen to be friends with. I knit my girlfriend's fingerless gloves, which you saw here, and I made an entire video dedicated to. You saw that earlier in this video, and I will link to that. Sorry, I don't know. I'm like kind of out of it. I don't know. But this was yarn that I initially bought for myself, but when my friend mentioned, they said, oh, my hands are always cold. And they weren't like angling for mitts or anything. It was a completely like off-topic conversation. But they were talking about how their hands were always cold. Someone was like holding their hands going, oh my gosh, they are cold, you know, that sort of thing. And I said, you know, I can make you a pair of fingerless gloves. And they're like, oh, could you? Like, I'd love that. That, you know, I'd really appreciate that. And this friend is totally knit-worthy, so I know that they would appreciate it, and it would definitely be something that they would love. And I didn't say anything about the color, but I was laying in bed the one night, and I was like, oh, this yarn is for them. I didn't actually buy it for me. I bought it for them, because they have a pair of pants kind of in this color, and they're a very naturey person. They're a gardener. They love the outdoors. So this colorway is like right up their alley. So I decided I'd let them pick. I didn't want to just assume they'd like this, even though I was 99% sure this would be what they wanted. So I picked out a couple different skeins that I had that I thought would be something they might enjoy that would work well for a pair of gloves. And this was the one they picked. So I'm really excited to knit something up for them. I couldn't find any patterns that I felt like would work with this yarn and were what I wanted. So I think I might design a pattern myself. Just something simple that they'll like, that will show off this yarn to its I'm sorry, I've got so much wool fuzzies, to like its best ability, I guess. And I don't think I said this yarn is called Lin Bae-fong, which is a reference to a character from Legend of Korra. And I do feel like the name is very apt if that was what you're going for with this color. And it's super squidgy, and I'm very excited to knit this up for them. I think they'll really like it, and I'm very excited. So I have 2 acquisitions here. They're both actually free. I didn't buy them, so that's nice. I got them secondhand from someone. But this is Primrose Yarn Co. The colorway is Springbrook, and it's a 4-ply DK weight yarn with 100% superwash merino, 225 yards for 100 grams. And it was hand-dyed in York, Pennsylvania. It says it was originally $27.50. And then I have a skein of Woolstok worsted from Bluesky Fibers, which is 50 grams, 123 yards, or 112 meters. 100% fine Highland wool. The colorway is number 1301 Storm Cloud. And it was made in Peru. Yes. So the reason these 2 skeins were free for me is somebody had them and they smell like mothballs, and they're like, I don't know what to do with these. I'm just gonna, I was like, oh, well, you can do this, that, or the other. There are some options. And like, you know what? You just want this yarn. I'm not, I know I'm not gonna do it. And I said, sure, yeah, I'll take free yarn. So I need to do some sort of first aid, I suppose, on these 2 skeins. But neither of these yarns are yarns I've ever knit with, and I really love both of them. I have quarantined them, so I know there's no bugs or critters in them. I've already done that, but I need to start the, de-stink process, I guess. And at first I thought they didn't really smell like mothballs. Like, when I first brought them home, it's like, what are they talking about? I don't smell. But now if I do smell them, they do smell like mothballs. But honestly, that's fair. Like, the thought of moths chewing up my yarn, it has happened to me. Like, that is just not something you want to happen. So I can understand why someone would have stored them with mothballs. But yeah, so that's it for acquisitions. I'm really trying to not spend a lot of money on yarn this year. I need to not. And I have a lot of yarn. I've actually spent a lot of time lately working on updating my yarn stash on Ravelry. I created myself a new Ravelry account because, I don't know, I just felt like I needed a different one than the one I've had since like 2012, 2010, I don't know. Long time. I could check and tell you, I don't know. But like I mentioned, I started knitting when I was in middle school and up through college and high school. Not in that order, obviously. And I kind of stopped when I moved to Pittsburgh. That was, 5 years ago now? Six years ago. So I knit on and off. I never decluttered any of this stuff because I was always kind of like, oh, well, I'll come back to it. And I have. And I'm really enjoying doing these fiber crafts now. And I also got really into quilting a couple years ago. So that's the other big thing. It's kind of brought me back to sewing as well. And I don't know. I was looking at my old Ravelry account and I was like, I'm not this person anymore. There are projects in there from when I was 14. And that's fine. You're allowed to knit things when you're 14 and make, Ravelry posts of them. But it's just kind of it doesn't really feel like me anymore. It's pre-transition as well. I just kind of wanted a clean break, so to speak. So I've been updating this new account that I made with my stash of yarn and my library of patterns. And it's been kind of a headache, but, that's how that sort of thing goes. But yeah, I will link to my Ravelry down below. There's not much in it yet, but if you want to, I guess, see what yarn I have or what patterns I have put in my library, you can check that out. Hi, boy. You're back for the very end. Come here. Yeah, this is Ravioli. And baby. But yeah, so he's probably not going to stay. Oh, you are shedding. Yeah, I know. It's warm out now. We had our, first really nice day today. In the 70s Fahrenheit, so 20s Celsius? I don't know. I will put it somewhere. And yeah, so I think he might be blowing his coat a little bit now. But anyways, yeah, so that was this podcast. Let me know what you thought. What would you knit out of the yarns I've shown? Do you have any recommendations for how to get mothball stink out of yarn? What else? What do you do to keep your cats from chewing your yarn? That's a good question. Any recommendations in terms of that vintage pattern with, I don't know, doing better figuring out the yarns ahead of time, I guess? I don't know. Did I get the right type of yarn? Is my gauge just really off? What else? Have you ever made a temperature blanket before? I know I'm like giving you a laundry list of questions, but basically just chat in the comments about whatever you want to talk about with this episode. I love talking to people, so I will do my best to answer everybody. Be sure to ring the bell so you know when my next video is. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. I don't know how often these videos are going to be made, but they are my kind of fun space. I make videos for my business, mostly tarot and bullet journal videos right now. I can link to that if you're interested, and all of my small business social media. You can find me pretty much anywhere that I'm going to be as Stet Studio. I'm not in all of the places, but I am in a lot of them. What else? He likes it when I tap him like he's a drum. Yeah, I think that's everything. Oh yeah, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but if you stayed for this whole long video and you disliked it, go do something else. Go hug a loved one, go read a book, get a cup of tea, just something else. It's okay, you don't have to be here. And yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I will see you again. Goodbye!